In this lesson, we are going to learn how to attack your opponent when opponent has castled on the opposite side. Let's look at this position. In this position, our king is on the queen side and opponent's king is on the king side. Both sides have castled on the opposite side. In this example also, both sides have castled on opposite side. Our king is on the king side and opponent's king is on the queen side. In such situations, you should know what is the right strategy to attack on the opponent's king. And the right strategy to attack on the opponents in this situation is pawn storm attack. Yes, pawn storm attack is a strategy where you start pushing your pawns toward the opponent's king and you are trying to create weakness around the opponent's king. So for example, in this position, you will start pushing your pawns on the king side toward the opponent king and your idea is to create weakness around the opponent's king. You see, right now this king is sitting safely behind these three pawns, and if you want to attack this king, then you need to open the lines around the king so that your pieces can go towards the opponent king and attack it. That's why in this position white started with pawn to g4. Our idea is to push the pawns toward the opponent's king, create weakness around the opponent's king, and then start the attack with our pieces. This strategy is known as the pawn storm attack because we are storming the opponent's king with our pawns. Black played rook c8, black is developing his pieces, and now we start with pawn to h4. Black played knight to b6. Black wants to bring his knight to c4 to target these two pieces. We continue with pawn to h5. Black played knight c4, and now this knight is very active, so we need to eliminate this knight, and that's why we play bishop cross c4. After rook cross c4, we continue with our pawn storm attack. We play pawn to g5, knight to d7, and our idea is to push these pawns to open the lines around the black's king. Before that, white here played rook d to g1. Now both the rooks are ready to take advantage of the open files. Black played queen to c7, black is developing his pieces, and now comes the first punch. White plays pawn to g6. Our pawns have reached the opponent's king first. Look, black has not even started the pawn storm attack on the queen side, and our pawns are already near the opponent's king. If black plays a move like h cross g6, then it's a suicide because you will play h cross g6 and you got this open h file. You will put your queen on h2 and checkmate the opponent's king on h8. So black cannot afford to open the lines around his king. And if black plays f cross g6, then also we are opening the lines. Look, the h file is open, and obviously black cannot capture h cross g6 because then we will play queen h2 and checkmate him on the h8 square. So black wants to keep the lines closed so that his king is safe behind these pawns. But we are not going to let this happen. Now, how should we continue the attack? If we want to attack the opponent's king, then again we need to open the lines toward the black king. And that's why here we sacrifice a piece. We play bishop cross h6. We sacrifice the whole piece to remove the pawn cover near the black's king. And now black plays g cross h6. Then we play queen cross h6, and there is no way that black can save himself from the checkmate. We are threatening queen h7 check, and we are threatening queen h8 checkmate. This is our ideal situation when we do pawn storm attack. Our goal of the pawn storm attack is to open the lines near the opponent's king, create weakness near the opponent's king, and then bring our pieces to exploit that weakness. Black also knows this. That's why in this position black played rook to c8. Black wants to attack on our king. Now how should we continue? How do we open the lines toward the opponent's king? Now our pawns have already reached near the opponent's king. Now we can start the piece attack. We can use our pieces to open the lines near the opponent's king. And that's why here white played bishop to h6. White is sacrificing the whole bishop. If black captures it, if black plays g cross h6, then we play queen cross h6 and our queen is near the opponent's king. We are threatening queen cross h7 check, then we can push the pawn to g7 and make a queen. And our attack is crushing. That's why black will play f cross g6 after h cross g6. Black cannot play h cross g6. Black cannot afford to open the lines, because then we will play queen h8, king f7 and rook to h7. It will be a checkmate. That's why here black must play bishop f6. But even then we can play queen cross h7 check, king f8 and now push the pawn to g7 check. Once the king moves, then we can push the pawn to g8 and black king will be checkmated very soon. And that's the reason after bishop to h6, black did not even touch our bishop. Black played bishop to f6. Black is bringing his bishop to safeguard his king. White played g cross h7 check. White got open g file for his rook to attack. After king cross h7, how do we continue? How do we open more lines? And the answer is bishop cross g7. After bishop cross g7, now we push the pawn to h6. If black plays a move like bishop to h8, then we have a fantastic sacrifice to open the h file also. We can play rook g7 check, bishop cross g7, h cross g7. You see, now queen can come to h6, rook is already on the h file and we are going to checkmate the opponent's king. After let's say king cross g7, we bring the queen to h6, king to g8 and queen h8 checkmate. That's why after h6, black played bishop to f6. And now we occupy the open g file by our queen. When we started the pawn storm attack, these g file and h file were closed. But now we have the open g file to attack to the opponent's king. White played queen g2. Black played rook cross c3. Black needs to do something. Black king is hoping that we will play b cross c3, after which black will play queen cross c3 and black will get some attack on our king. But we are not going to let this happen. We are going to play queen to g7. This is the whole idea of the pawn storm attack. First, we push our pawns toward the opponent's king, create weakness around the opponent's king. Then we use our pieces to further open the lines and attack. Black has only one choice. Black must play bishop cross g7. Now we play h cross g7. After king to g8, now we play rook h8 and it's a checkmate. Let's see this pawn storm attack strategy in one more example. In this example also, both the kings have castled on the opposite side. Our king is on the king side and opponent's king is on the queen side. And what is the best way to attack in such situations? Answer is pawn storm attack. You start pushing your pawns. Our goal is to create weakness around the defense of the opponent's king. Once the weakness has been created, once few lines have been opened, then we bring our pieces to checkmate the opponent's king. And how do we do this in this position? White played pawn to b6. White is sacrificing a pawn. And white's idea is pretty simple. If black plays a natural move like a cross b6, then we play pawn to a5. And after b cross a5, look, we have managed to open the a file and we have also managed to open the b file. Now we are going to use these open files to attack on the opponent's king. After b6, black did play a cross b6, but before playing a5, we have even more powerful move. Look, if we can manage to bring our knight to d5, knight will become more powerful, and if we can manage to bring our bishop to g4, bishop will also become more active. But the problem is opponent's knight is controlling these squares. So white first played rook cross f6. White eliminated the knight. After queen cross f6, white first played bishop to g4 check. The bishop is now active. Black has only one choice, king to b8, and now we play knight to d5. Now both of our knight and the bishop are active. Black played queen g7, and now we start with our pawn storm attack. We play a5. We want to open the lines toward the opponent's king. If black plays b cross a5, then it is very easy for us. We simply play queen cross a5 and there is going to be a checkmate on the a file. So black will try to keep the lines closed. Black will play b5. Black does not want to open the lines toward his king. But we are going to play pawn to a6. We continue the attack. We want to open the lines toward the opponent's king. If black plays b cross a6, then we got what we wanted. We play queen to a5. We are going to play queen cross c7. We are threatening queen cross a6, and this king will be checkmated. If black plays a move like queen cross d4, then after bishop to f2, and it's going to be a checkmate. There is nothing that black can do. Let's say black plays queen cross e4, then we play queen cross c7 check, and rook cross a6, it's a checkmate. So in this position, black should play b6. Black must keep the lines closed. Now we push the pawn to a7 check, king b7, and there is many ways for white to win the game. One pretty way is to immediately sacrifice the knight. King cross e7. If you want, you can make a queen here, but we don't have to. We can play queen c3 check. We can bring more pieces into the attack. After king b7, now we play bishop to d7. Black's rook cannot actually capture our bishop. Why? Because then we will make a queen and it will be a checkmate. And if black does not capture our bishop, then we play queen c6 check and it's going to be a checkmate again. So black is completely lost in this position. Let's go back. You see, bishop was so active on this diagonal that black decided to play pawn to f5. And black is also planning to defend the c7 square with the queen. So that's a good move. But we don't have to capture the f5 pawn. Here we play a cross b6. Black cannot really capture our bishop. If black captures our bishop, then we can play b cross c7, king c8, we can play rook to a8 check, king d7, and we can make a queen, easily winning the game. That's why in this position black played c cross b6. White played knight cross b6. Even now black cannot really capture our bishop because then we play queen c3 and our idea is to play rook a8 checkmate. So black played knight e7. Black is trying to bring his knight towards the defense of the king. We play e cross f5. Black played queen f7. And now we play pawn to f6. We want to open the diagonal of the bishop because bishop is useful in attacking the opponent's king. If black plays a move like queen cross f6, then we continue with our plan, queen c3. Idea is to checkmate with rook a8. After knight c6, we still play rook a8 check, king c7, and now we play knight to d5, and it's a checkmate. So black cannot really capture our pawn, and that's why black played knight to c6. Knight is covering this square and we want to bring our queen to the a file. How do we bring our queen to this a file? We play pawn to c4. In the next move, we are going to play queen a2 and checkmate on the a8 square. Black played knight a7 and we played queen a2. Black played a tricky move like knight to b5. And black's idea is that if we play a move like queen to a8 check, then black can try to escape from the c7 square. But we are not going to let this happen. That's why white played knight d5. We are covering the c7 square. The c8 square is covered by the bishop, and there is no way for black to protect from the queen a8 checkmate. So it's a game over. Let me summarize this lesson quickly. If your opponent castles on the opposite side, Then the powerful strategy to attack your opponent is pawn storm attack. You start pushing your pawns toward the opponent's king. Your goal is to create weakness around the opponent's king. Once your pawn has created some weakness around the king, then you take your pieces and try to exploit that weakness. This pawn storm attack strategy is very powerful. You will win many games using this idea. I wish you all the best with it. Now let's go to the next lesson.